they're going to be kind of all mixed up. 7.1 had to do with rational solutions. 7.2 had to do with complex solutions. So be ready. So the first 5 all follow this pattern. There's a greatest common factor. Oopsie. This is a dirty pen. Another one. Of x. So then if I pull an x out, I get x squared minus 8x plus 15. And they ask us, are there factors of 15 when added give us 8, but they're both negative? Both negative. Should be 3 and 5. But unfortunately, there's more than one choice with this as the factors. So you do still have to come up with the zeros for the answers. You know, if x is a factor, 0 is an answer. If x minus 3 is a factor, 3 is an answer. And if x minus 5 is a factor, 5 is an answer. So you have to find the choice that has both of these as true. That is C. You notice one of them has these for factors, but they got the wrong answer. So they are going to mess with you. Okay? We get there. Dance. Know how to factor and know how to answer. Factors first, then you can answer. So it has the GCF of the factor x, and you have x squared minus 2x minus 15. So factors of 15, when subtracted, give me 2. So that's 3 and 5. 5 has to be the negative factor. Thankfully, these aren't too bad at factoring terms. So the answer is 0, negative 3, and 5. Those are the zeros. So you have to look for one that has this for the factors, and these for the zeros. And that is A. So they're all mushed together there, and it's kind of hard to sift through them all. So on your iPad, you know, if you choose to do it electronically, that'll be side by side. That'll help you faster. And you notice we can't, sometimes you can stop at the factoring, but sometimes you have to go to the answers. Might as well get in the habit of doing both. You don't want to jump to conclusions, that's for sure. Okay, let's see. Look at number 3. That's no different. Number 4, no different. I'll just give you the answers on those. You can see if you can factor them to get those. 3 is A. And 4 is D. Okay, I'm almost aren't I? So practice, see if you can come up with those answers. Number 5 is one more of the same. And number 5 is B. We can't see it. Okay. So those are all the same. They all had greatest common factors, and then you factor the polynomial that's left over. Didn't have to divide or anything, okay? No division necessary. Okay, you can divide if you want. It'll take longer, but yeah, don't have to divide. Just go to the factoring game. Okay, number 6 is different again. 6 has got 4 factors, or 4 terms, sorry. So we should be able to factor this by using grouping, hopefully. Notice the greatest common factors of each pair of terms. We pull out that x minus 1 as the twin factor. We're undistributing. X squared plus 4 is left. So if this was the only set of factors, in your choices, you can be done. But we'll go ahead and solve these for x so you know in case there's more than one choice for factors. So x is 1 here. Here I have to set this. This is unfactorable. So I set it equal to 0 and use my rules of the universe to get x alone. Remember, if I take the square root of a negative number, there's 2 answers. Whoops. Plus and minus. If I take the square root of a negative number, I have an I. And the square root of 4 is 2. So I've got 3 answers, 1, 2i, and a negative 2i. There is no square root left. If what I'm taking the square root is a perfect square, it disappears. So don't let that fool you. Letter C. Okay, don't let that fool you. Just a little bit. If I can. Here we go. So now the next 5 problems are going to use this pattern. Actually, 5 in all, these next 4 after number 6, same pattern. So it's grouping. Take an x squared out. Have an x plus 2. Do the 2 negatives. I'll take a negative 1 out. That's an x plus 2. And these 2 come out as one factor. And what's left is x squared minus 1. How's your brain with that relationship? This guy can be factored one more time because it's the difference of squares. I didn't factor that x squared plus 4 because it couldn't be factored in the real number universe. But this one can be. So I have an x plus 2, an x minus 1, and an x plus 1. That's the factor pattern for difference of squares. So I should have 3 answers. A negative 2, a positive 1, and a negative 1. Not necessarily in that order, but those are the 3 they will have on letter D. See if they're, oh, they are in that order. That was a nice coincidence. As long as you have 3 of them. You're grouping good. Let's see. Number 8 looks interesting. We'll go ahead and do that one. I'm just looking at the answer choices, and they look pretty interesting. So I'm going to tackle this guy and see what I come up with. Okay, I see a common factor of x squared and a common factor of negative 2. I pull out a negative 2 from a positive 6, that leaves me a negative 3. All right, take out the factor x minus 3 and see what we have left, x squared minus 2. That is not a perfect square, so I just have to set it equal to 0. One of my answers is 3. I take x squared minus 2 equal to 0. Add 2. This is a real number because I can take the square root of 2. It's just ugly, right? So x, whenever you take the square root of a number, there's 2 roots, a positive and negative square root of 2. So that is what you're looking for. Nobody got repeated. So there's no multiplicity of anything for number 8. And A has got those 3 answers. Let's see, number 8. It ends up, just the factors themselves would have given you, like if you looked here for the factors, that would have given you letter A without any other, none of the other choices had those as factors. So that's kind of nice. It'll make you, help you go fast if you run into one of those. Now go ahead and just give you 9s, 9 and 10s answers. You know how to do it now. And you did if you did your homework. This is just a review of the problems in 7.1 as well as 7.2, the first 4 problems I think we did. So number 9 is letter D. And number 10 is letter C. That one has I's in it. We haven't had one of those with, did we? Well, we did have an I guy, didn't we? On number 6. But, yeah, so you should be okay. Watch out when you factor. Okay, now the next 5, if you're ready, are, this is to the 4th power, so there's going to be 4 answers, but there's only 3 terms. And so you might want to divide if you're not good at factoring, but I'm going to show you the factor because it does go faster, and if I can get your brain trained to use factoring, it's all the better. So the trick to these 4th power with just 3 terms is, you know, x to the 4th is x squared times x squared, so that's good. Everything's positive, so you'll be adding numbers together. And the factors of 2, there's only 2 factors of 2, 1 and 2. So the factors of 2 when added give me 3, yes. But we're not, well, this would be an answer. You know, this would be the factor choice you'd look for 11. But there are a couple of them with this factor choice, so you have to keep going to answer. So this is not factorable anymore, so I take my binomial and set it equal to 0 and solve it. That's gone, and negative 1. And we all know what the square root of a negative 1 is, right? Positive and negative. What's the square root of a negative 1? Everybody. Saved by the bell. What's the letter? Letter who? Letter Who shows up when I take the square root of a negative? Letter, yes, thank you. That's what I'm fishing for. If I just take the square root of a negative 1, that creates an I. But there's two of them, positive and negative. All right, so I got that one out of the way. This one I take x squared plus 2 equal to 0. Move the 2 to the right with a next subtraction. X squared is a negative 2. Square root. X is 2 roots. Square root of a negative is I. And the, oh man, I put the I. The square root of 2 is the square root of 2. So I think they have the I in front of the square root of 2. Let me look, 11. Yep, they do. So match everything. Okay. I didn't repeat. I was a positive I. That's different than a negative I. And neither did I squared root of 2. That didn't repeat. It's a positive I squared root of 2, negative I squared root of 2. And so that would be C. See the difference? Okay, you see D said the word multiplicity of 2. That means it repeated. Nope, I did not repeat. There's a difference between positive I and negative I. That's not a repeat. So that's why don't pick that one. This is all listed out on C. So study that if you're still a little weak enough. What do I do when I take square root of a negative number? That's a good one. Good example. So that's what the next 5 are about. Factoring the fourth power by chopping it into x squared and x squared. And then see if you can factor any more. Factors of 54 when added give me 15. 54's got a lot of factors. It happens to be 6 and 9. And they're both negative. They add up to negative, but multiply to positive. He is done factoring, but he is not. So x squared minus 6 is waiting to be solved. But since this is a difference of squares, when you go to look at your factors, you won't see x squared minus 9. You'll see x plus 3x minus 3. Then you should find those among the choices. And if there's only one choice, then you've got golden. But there's not. There are 2 choices, so we got to keep to solving. Set that guy equal to 0. Add 6. And take the square root. There's 2 of them. Square root of 6 has no simpler root. So plus and minus square root of 6, a negative 3, and a 3. That's kind of your list. They'll probably have those separate. Number 12. Yep, they have them separate on letter B. So remember what you do if you can't factor, and remember what you do when you can. In this case, it was all real numbers for answers. Okay, so I'm going to give you the answer. 13 is A. Ah, you can't see. That one came out kind of nice. Is A. And that one's a good one. There's a minus there. Let's see if what 15 has. 15 is back to a plus. Okay. 15. We'll go ahead and do 15. See how it shapes out. Factors of 36 when added gives 12. Oh, pickles. That's 6 and 6. Oh, x squared. Ooh, they match. So when I solve this, because I can't factor anymore, let's see, on number 15, let me see, is there only one of them with those as factors? Nope, there's two of them. So on 15, they have their factors written as x squared minus 6 squared. So be looking for that. You know, that's the answer you find. But there's two of them that have that answer. So we've got to set one of these equal to 0 and know there's a multiplicity going on. So if I just take x squared minus 6 equal to 0, x squared is 6. Oh, pickles. I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, that should say 6. And when I take the square root, x is positive and negative square root of 6. Multiplicity of 2. Because, is that how they write it? Yeah. There's two factors that have this for an answer. So I need the square root of 6 multiplicity of 2 and the negative square root of 6 multiplicity of 2. So square root of 6 multiplicity of 2 and negative square root of 6 multiplicity of 2. So that is letter B. Looks like it. A is out, there's a 7. D is out, there's a 5. C is out because they have I's. So there's no I that happened here. Okay, the last 5, if you're ready, have to do with the quadratic formula. So we end up not using synthetic division. That's no fun. But, you know, had to stop somewhere, right? You can, and again, you can use synthetic division if your factoring stinks. I'm good with that. Just takes longer. Okay, greatest common factor of x. You ask yourself, are there factors of 30 when subtracted give you 2? I just spilled the beans. There isn't. But let's look. 1 and 30, 2 and 15, 3 and 10, 4 doesn't go, 5 and 6. That's a difference of 1. And that's all. So I have to use quadratic formula. You can write them on your notes for your review or use your notebook. The opposite of b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So the last 5 are going to be the mountaintop for this assessment. Bless you. So a is 1, b is 2, c is a negative 30. Get it from the coefficients up here. Don't forget that one of the answers is 0. Don't forget that. Okay. Don't forget there's that x guy there. Okay. Opposite of 2 is a negative 2 plus or minus square root. Square root 2 squared is 4 minus 4 times 1 times a negative 30. 2 times 1. So you can put it all in your calculator, see what it cranks out to be, or you can do it a piece at a time. Is it opposite of 2 plus or minus the square root of 4 plus 120 is 124. So in my little space, 124 over 2. I'm going to just take the square root of 124, see if it simplifies. Yeah. Okay. See how that simplified? That way I don't have too much to enter in my calculator. It takes me longer to enter it than it does for me to do the math in my head. Okay. Negative 2 plus or minus 2 square roots of 31 over 2. And you already, you're looking at your choices. 2 goes into both of these. Negative 1 plus or minus the square root of 31. See, the 2's canceled, right? And you can't just make that disappear. You have to have a 1 there. This one is in front of the square root of 31, so I can have it. And then 0 was one of my answers. So 16. This guy is your factor. And you might have found your value already, right? That guy is your factor on number 16. There's only one of them. Yep. I'll show you, okay? There's only one of them that has that as a factor, so I could have stopped. Nope, liar, pacifier, there are 2 of them. So, ends up, it is B that has the right answers. D had those, D had the right factors, but they didn't have the right answers, so, yeah, 16B. That's the way the rest of them are. Okay. So know your quadratic formula and crank them out. So I'm going to, let me see, 17. Yeah, let's do 17, and then maybe I'll give you the answers the rest. Looks like 17 has a, I don't know if it has imaginary or a real underneath the radical or not. So let's try it. So x comes out. On your test, I wouldn't even waste your time to see if there's factors of 25 when added to give you a -8. These are going to use the quadratic formula. So this will make up not doing synthetic division. Okay, A is 1. B is -8, C is 25, and more real-life problems come out this way. They're not pretty. Okay, opposite of B, don't forget you take the opposite of B, and then you square B, and then you subtract 4 times A times C, 2 times 1. Sometimes I write A instead of what it is. There we go. So it's 8 plus or minus the square root of 64 minus 100. So it's a -36. So I smell a complex number here. So it's 8 plus or minus. 36 has a square root. It's a 6, but you put an I because of that guy. Over 2. Remember, 2 can go into both. If it doesn't go into both, it won't go into either one. 4 plus or minus 3i. So for number 17, okay, there's 2 choices that have a 25, so it's C or D, and then I have to look for 4 plus 3i, so that's C. So that one is tricky. And then there's a 0, remember? So there's a 0 and those 2. So don't get the 4 and the 3i mixed up. Write your notes carefully as you're working through these problems. All right, number 18. 18 is C. Oh, you can't see it. Sorry. 18 is C. 19 is B. And 20 is A. So practice on those three on your own to see if you can get those answers. And thank you very much. I'll zoom out on that. So practice, practice. Quadratic formula. Looks like it. Thank you very much.